Chapter 9. Tearing the Veil. Korra. As her mother left her, having just spent a good few minutes cleaning Korra up and changing her pad before redressing her in pajamas and a thin blue bedrobe, Korra realized she didn't even have it in herself to be humiliated anymore. To be humiliated was to feel like whatever was happening to you was somehow beneath the level of dignity you saw yourself as having, and Korra's dignity had died months ago. Of course, her body was continuing its newfound tradition of making bad situations even worse. And so what if Mom had to treat her like a helpless infant with a soiled diaper? That's exactly what I am, more or less, Korra thought. Except babies eventually grow out of being so useless. Not her, though. Her uselessness was locked in, as true a fact of life as anything else. The moon went through its phases, the tides rose and fell, and Korra was a disgusting sack of meat that everyone else had to tolerate, rotting away to nothing at the bottom of the world. As she lay there in silence, she thought of all those years spent training in the Red Lotus compound. Being the Avatar had felt so important then, back when the world was a simple place and everything made sense. Now nothing made sense, and everything she had worked for was gone. She wasn't the Avatar anymore. She wasn't even a real person anymore. She was just an object, and her form depended on the eye of her beholder. To Mom and Asami, she was a fragile doll made of glass, ready to shatter if they so much as looked at her wrong. To Katara, she was the same doll, already broken beyond repair, just a waste of time that she had already given up on. And Dad? Korra barely even saw him anymore, but whenever she did, he looked at her like she was already gone. More and more lately, Korra wished she was. It would have been so much easier than this. She couldn't stop thinking about the bath, how the water had invited her so sweetly, how easy it had been to slip beneath the surface, hoping to fall asleep, how unbothered she had been by the prospect of letting the water fill her lungs to wash all the bad things away. That was a bad thought, Korra knew, but it was hard to ignore. When she held it close, it was almost like her pain became easier to manage. Almost. Korra wasn't stupid. Or rather, she was pretty stupid, but she was still smart enough to know that some people would be sad if she weren't around anymore. Would they really, though? Mom, Dad, and Asami would be heartbroken. But for how long? Korra wondered. And what about everyone else? Katara and Kaya, Tenzin and Pema and the kids? Bolin and Mako? Sue and Lin? The whole world? Of course they would be sad, but would that be all they felt? Would they be angry that she left them, thinking her selfish and heartless? Would they not understand why, because they either didn't know or chose to ignore how bad things were? Would they be relieved that they didn't need to worry about her anymore, grateful that she had removed such a heavy burden from their lives? Maybe they would even be proud of her, both for taking matters into her own hands and for allowing a new Avatar to be born after Korra had failed at every turn. She felt herself frown. Maybe they won't even care. The world doesn't need me anymore. If the past few months had proven anything to Korra, it was that she simply shouldn't be alive. She had brushed with death so many times that her still being here, crippled and helpless, could only be a mistake. Just as it was a mistake for her to be the Avatar in the first place. Was it really such a bad thing to want to fix those mistakes? Wishful visions of a body lying still beneath an icy cliff flashed in her mind. Just let go, the wind had whispered in her ear that day, almost kindly. Just close your eyes and lean forward. Korra's frown deepened. She was being stupid. Even if she wanted to get out, she couldn't. She was a prisoner in her own broken body. The emptiness of her bedroom closed in around her like the walls of a dark and dismal cell. Let go, came an inaudible sigh from beneath the silence. It was as if it had never left. Let go. Korra knew she couldn't, and that she shouldn't, but holding the image of it in her mind felt like some small measure of peace, so for just a little while she allowed herself to think about it anyway, until she heard a voice from the hall. Homework time! Whoa, Naga, slow down! Korra looked up to see Naga squeezing herself through the doorway, with Asami following in after, holding a big paper bag in her hands. The polar bear dog bounded across the length of the room, and Korra immediately tensed, expecting to be pounced on. Naga, stay, no jumping, Asami called. Naga slid to a stop right at the edge of Korra's bed. Whining and whimpering, she leaned forward and kissed at Korra's face, her massive body wriggling in time with her wagging tail. From beneath the onslaught of wet puppy kisses, Korra caught a glimpse of Asami shrugging. She was dressed in daywear the color of a late summer sky, similar to the outfits Mom often wore. Korra had seldom seen Asami in blue prior to their move to the South Pole, but as with all things, she looked beautiful in it. Close enough, said her best friend. I see why you don't want her sleeping in here. She might love you a little too much. Yeah. Korra lowered her gaze to Naga. Big and sweet and loving as ever, the polar bear dog placed her massive head in Korra's lap, doubtlessly getting fur all over the blankets. Korra reached a shaky hand forward to scratch under Naga's ear, a task finally made possible by countless hours of grip strength exercises. Her control was far from perfect, and her fingers were still mostly numb, but compared to when Katara had first assigned her homework, the difference was night and day. Naga kept staring at her. In those big brown eyes, Korra saw a truth she couldn't deny. Naga would never understand. She would spend the rest of her life looking for her lost friend, and no one could explain to her why Korra wasn't coming back. Something cold and heavy sank deep into Korra's gut. She pulled her hand away. Naga pressed her head into her lap a little more. Sorry you didn't see me yesterday, said Asami. You were asleep every time I checked on you, and then your mom suggested I go take this one, she patted Naga's head, for a run in the snow. I'm sure she loved it, Korra said quietly. Thanks for calling her off. I'm honestly surprised she listened to you. You and me both, Asami agreed, squeezing past Naga to her chair before putting down the bag she was carrying. Been spending more time with her lately, I guess. She glanced at Naga and grinned. Clearly I'm no substitute for you, though. Korra mumbled. Yeah, maybe. When Asami eyed her with concern, she added, So, homework time. Yep, and, I brought a little something, if that's okay. Asami dug through the bag she'd brought with her, retrieving a sizable container of blue sugar cookies, as well as a little square of thick cardstock emblazoned with an image of a woman playing a guitar. She placed both on the bedside table, then dove into the bag one more time, resurfacing with what looked to Korra like a miniature record player. I figured, half the time we do this we're just sitting here in silence, so... Korra's throat was dry. This isn't fair, she wanted to say, but the words would not come. So maybe we could listen to something together? Asami went on. And share some cookies? If you want to, of course. Sure, Korra nodded. Something inside her told her she should be crying right now, but instead she was left with a painful pressure in her head. Silently, she laid her hand down on the bed, felt Asami take gentle hold of it, and lamented how good thoughts hurt worse than bad ones. She began her exercises, right hand first, as always, squeezing and releasing Asami's hand as hard as she could in sets of 10. Naga at last lifted her head from Korra's lap to lie down beside the bed, and Asami began setting up the record player with her free hand, chatting all the while. I don't really know what kind of music you like, so I just got something instrumental. I've always liked chordophones. There's just this really natural, beautiful sound to them, I guess, like they're drawing music right out of the air. She pulled the record from its cardstock casing, set it down, and placed the needle, then flipped a switch. The little machine whirred to life, and Korra's bedroom was suddenly alive with music. It's really nice, Korra said, trying to focus on her exercises. Thanks. You're welcome. Her best friend smiled sweetly. It made Korra want to cry again. Asami opened the cookie box and took a bite of one. Oh, man. When she spoke, her voice was muffled and all the cuter for it. Korra, you gotta try these. Korra wanted to refuse, but that would be cruel. Asami was trying so hard for her, trying so hard to make her feel normal, to make her feel like she could still... Korra? Hey, are you okay? She saw her tears before she felt them. They formed a soft blur around the lower edge of her vision, and when they fell, her breathing hitched, and suddenly, holding Asami's hand hurt more than the many chronic pains hounding Korra every second of the day. It hurt so much, worse than anything she'd felt in her entire life, but she couldn't let go. She just couldn't. Asami's face was in front of her, those bright green eyes shining with concern. Is this okay? Do you want me to turn the music off? No, Korra said. No, I like it. Okay. Asami gave her a soft smile. I'm here if you want to talk about anything. And if you don't, that's okay too. Korra didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. She watched Asami through her tears, taking in everything. How her wavy black hair fell like sable curtains on either side of her face. How her soft-looking lips were all the more beautiful because they were never far from a smile. How her vibrant voice, even just its echo in Korra's mind, was the only sound that made Korra feel like things could ever be okay again. Without thinking, Korra felt her hand leave Asami's, drifting slowly upwards to shakily caress the beautiful face before her. All at once, the music and the bedroom and Naga and everything else fell away. Everything but her and Asami, who was now staring wide-eyed at Korra like she was the only person in the world. And Korra realized she really, really wanted to kiss her. Even if it's only a kiss goodbye? The thought struck her like a bolt of lightning through her heart. Suddenly, she wanted to ask what Asami would have done if Zahir had succeeded in killing her. She needed to know Asami would be okay with or without her, because whether or not either of them wanted to admit it, the real Korra had died on the floor of that cave long before the poison ever touched her veins. She was already dead and gone and buried, and the girl Asami was slowly drifting towards was just the decaying remains of someone she could have actually been happy with. Korra wanted to tell her about the bath, about how close she had been, about the gray haze that had filled her lungs in place of air as her head slipped beneath the water's surface. But then she imagined what Asami's face would look like if she did, how her lips, so close to Korra's own, would sink into a frown, how her half-lidded eyes, shining like stars, would fill with fear and sadness. Korra turned her head away, and Asami stopped. Korra? She couldn't do this. It wasn't okay to do this, not when Asami deserved so much better. Korra's hand fell from Asami's cheek. I'm not ready yet, she managed to say. When she braved a glance at Asami, still only inches away, she just saw that easy smile she loved so much. Asami leaned in, pressed her forehead to Korra's own, and whispered, That's okay, Korra. Whenever you are, I'll be here. Korra could feel Asami's breath on her face. Everything suddenly bubbled to the surface, and she couldn't hope to keep it in. I want to be, she said with tears in her eyes. I really want to be. I know, Asami said. I want you to be ready too. I want... Her eyes found Korra's, and in them, Korra saw a vibrant energy she had never seen before. It moved and danced like wildfire, spreading warmth and comfort deep into her soul, lighting up the whole world like a brightly burning star between them. Asami placed her hands on Korra's cheeks, but her lips never closed that final distance. Instead, she traced her thumbs beneath Korra's eyes, wiping away her tears. I want to say it. None of this was fair. I want to hear you say it, she wished she could tell Asami. I want to say it back. I want to. I promise I want to. Asami. But she couldn't. Not right now. Maybe not ever. But she wanted to. She so desperately wanted to. Could that be enough someday? Asami, Korra blinked, and suddenly the air was damp with dread. A shock of pain lanced sharply through her and past Asami's face. The light on the ceiling shone dimly, sullenly, swaying up and down. Let go. Could you, Korra placed her hands over Asami's, coaxing them away. Could you get me a hot water bottle, please? I'm cramping really bad. Sorry. Her best friend watched her for a moment, as if searching for something more. Korra wilted beneath her gaze. Okay, Asami said at last. A gentle smile formed on her lips, and she gave Korra's hand a little squeeze. I'll be right back. While Asami left to retrieve the bottle, Korra lay motionless in bed, staring at her dead legs. Her thoughts returned to the bath, and how Asami might react if Korra told her about it. Or worse, how she would have reacted if Korra hadn't resurfaced. Just thinking about it was too much, and suddenly the bad thoughts hurt as much as Korra knew they should have all along. There was an obvious solution then. The bath, that day at the cliff, all of her bad thoughts. No one else knew about them, just like the cave. Korra let out a slow breath and reminded herself of a simple truth. If no one else knew, and she didn't think about it, then it never happened at all. When Asami returned, Korra did her best to smile. "I really like this," she said, gesturing to the record player. "Where'd you find it?" Asami returned to her chair at Korra's bedside. "There's a little shop in town with all kinds of imports from Republic City. Apparently this artist is originally from the Fire Nation, but she's part of a band that plays a ton of shows in Republic City. This is more like her solo acoustic album, but if you want, I could look for stuff from her band." "That'd be really nice," Korra said. With assistance, she leaned forward as best she could, allowing Asami to place the hot water bottle beneath her lower back. "Is that good?" Asami asked. When Korra nodded, she said, "All right, let me know whenever you want me to heat that up again. And yeah, if we like the full band's music, who knows?" She glanced at Korra, that brilliant energy sparkling in her eyes again. "Maybe we could go see them in concert someday. Just the two of us." Someday. Whenever Asami was with her, Korra hoped she would make it to someday. But the cliff, no one else knows. But the bath, don't think about it. She found Asami's hand and began working on her exercises again, left hand this time. "I'd really like that," she said. When Asami smiled for her again, Korra's heart stirred and she asked, "Can I have one of those cookies?" "Of course." Asami held one up for her to take a bite. "They're super good. I got them from this old guy down by the docks. He has this cute little stand and everything. Next time I go, I'd like to get some caramels. He had them shaped like little penguin otter faces. Your mom says they're Kaya's favorite thing ever." Korra listened to Asami's voice, so bright and clear and present. Then she looked down at their hands, still clasped together, just like it would be if they ever went to a concert together. Just like it would be someday, if Korra was ever ready. Something swelled within her. She flexed her right hand a few times, then reached up and took the cookie from Asami's grasp. Her hand was shaking, as it always did whenever she tried to keep it steady. Her fingers fumbled around the treat, still numb almost to the second joint. Pain sparked in her palm and forearm, and for a moment she faltered, but her grip never came undone. Korra focused intently, raised the cookie to her lips, and took a little bite. "Oh wow, Asami wasn't kidding," she thought as the flavor hit her. "These are great." "Korra!" Asami squealed, a big smile spreading on her face. "You did it! Look at you! You did it!" She bounced up and down in her seat, clapping and cheering like a little girl, while Naga lifted her head to see what all the fuss was about. Korra took another bite, then another. A grin tugged at her lips, and she took a final bite, finishing off the first food she had successfully fed to herself in nearly 4 months. Even though she was in bed, sitting propped up against her pillows, Korra was nearly knocked over by Asami's hug. "I'm so proud of you! You're amazing, Korra. I knew you could do it." Korra felt her arms slowly rise and hug Asami back, but inside her mind was buzzing. I did it. I really did it. She could feed herself. After so long, after so many months of feeling like nothing would ever get better, she let her head rest on Asami's shoulder, losing herself in warmth and softness and the smell of gentle summer rains. But the bath, the cliff, don't think about it. But the cave, never think about it because it never happened. Maybe Katara hadn't given up on her after all. Korra had followed her instructions, done her homework, and she'd made progress. She'd healed, if only a little. The sweet taste of sugar on her tongue was proof enough of that. Korra clung to Asami like she was the only thing that mattered, folding into her embrace and reveling in it for all she was worth. She smiled, and for a moment, that distant someday seemed a little closer. "I hope we're not interrupting anything." Asami pulled away, leaving Korra to shiver at her lost warmth. They both looked to the doorway, where Korra's mom was standing. Beside her, Korra spotted her dad. "Did you see?" said Asami excitedly. When Mom and Dad just looked confused, she bounced in her seat. "Oh, this is perfect. Korra, you have to show them." She retrieved another cookie from the box, holding it out. Korra took it from her, held it, and brought it up to take a bite. It was even easier the second time. Mom clasped her hands together. "Sweetie, that's wonderful!" "Asami told me you were making progress," Dad said, grinning. "Your hard work is paying off, Korra. We're all proud of you." Korra didn't know what to say to that, But thankfully, Asami made that a non-issue by pulling her into a hug again and waving for Mom and Dad to join in. Even Naga sat up, licking at Korra's hand. Later, Korra would reflect that if she had died in that moment, she would have died happy. "This calls for celebrating," Mom said as she and Dad finally stepped back. Asami held on to Korra for a little longer. "Agreed," Dad said. "Anything you want, we'll make it happen." I'm not really sure," Korra said, her face heating up at all the sudden attention. "I guess fancy dinner?" Dad nodded. "Fancy dinner it is, then." "Asami, honey," Mom said as she took Asami by the arm. "Would you mind giving us a few minutes alone with Korra? There's something we'd like to talk to her about." Korra's brow furrowed. What does she mean? Asami looked back at Korra. "Oh, sure, I'll get out of your hair." "You're not in the way, I promise," said Mom. "We just have a few things to talk about," said Dad. Korra relaxed a little. Whatever her parents wanted with her didn't sound too important. "Actually, could you take Naga with you?" she asked, just as Naga put her paws on the bed. "I can't really hold a conversation if I'm being squished." At that, Asami smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'll take her for a walk, I think." She squeezed Korra's hand one more time, then made her way to the door. "Let's give them some privacy, Naga," she said, and the polar bear dog dropped back down and followed her out with a yawn. Asami closed the door behind her, leaving Korra alone with her parents. "So what's up?" Korra asked. "Well," Mom started as she sat on the edge of the bed. "It's been close to 4 months since everything happened, and your dad and I thought it'd be good to check in. Just see how you're doing, that sort of thing." "And I want to apologize," Dad said, sitting in Asami's chair. "I know I haven't been here for you the way I should be." Korra leaned back against her stack of pillows. Maybe it was just the high of finally being able to eat on her own, but in that moment her father's constant absences didn't hurt as much as they usually did. "Dad, it's fine," she said. "You're the chief. I know you've got things to do other than wait on me all day." Dad glanced sidelong at Mom, who nodded. "That's not why I've been gone so much, Korra," he said. I've been selfish. It's hard when I feel like I can't help you, and I let that keep me from being by your side. I'm sorry." It's okay," Korra sighed. "Thank you for saying that. As for how I'm doing, you just saw." "We did see, and we're so proud of you," said Mom. "We never doubted you for a moment." Dad nodded. "Keep at it, and you'll be walking in no time." Would she? Korra wanted to believe that, but wanting to believe something wasn't enough to make it happen. "I hope so," she said quietly. "Is that all?" Her parents looked at each other, then back to her. In their eyes, Korra could see that the answer was no. "You know we love you, sweetheart," Mom said. "Me, your dad, Asami, Naga, all of us. And if there's ever something you feel the need to talk about..." She scooted closer, laying her hand on Korra's. "We're here for you. You don't have to hide anything from us." "What?" "I don't know what you mean," Korra said. "I'm not hiding anything." She broke off eye contact, staring at her legs. "Korra." Dad's voice was as soft as a gentle breeze, yet Korra felt like whatever he said might knock her over. "I talked with Asami yesterday, and she helped me realize that holding things in, hiding from them because they feel too painful to talk about, only makes them hurt even more." "It's okay to talk about it, baby." Tears shone in Mom's eyes as she rubbed a thumb over the back of Korra's hand. "It's okay. Your father and I love you. You can tell us anything." Did she mean the cliff or the bath? But how could she know? Don't think about it. Did she mean... She can't mean that because it never happened. Korra pulled her hand sharply away from her mother. "I don't know what you're talking about. I already told you everything." Dad only sighed. "If you don't want to talk about it right now, that's okay. We just want you to know that we'll be here when you're ready." "No, he can't know. He can't." "Ready to what?" Korra snapped. "There's nothing to talk about because nothing happened." "Korra, please." Mom looked so sad. "You don't have to lie to us." "I'm not lying." She wasn't lying. She wasn't. No one else knew. So if she didn't think about it, then it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. "Korra." Dad's voice wavered. Your doctor talked to me the first day you were in the hospital, he said, and Korra's stomach dropped. He knows. The thought drifted lazily before her, like a ribbon of mist too cold to touch. Mom knows too, Korra realized with an awful certainty. They've both known this whole time. And he told me what they found, Dad was saying in solemn tones. You don't have to hide this from us, sweetheart. It's okay to talk about it. A face swam up out of the deepest places of her mind, silhouetted dimly against an open door. Her parents' voices were swallowed by the shriek of a rusted metal hinge, and suddenly the bed was rough stone and packed dirt scratching against the skin of her back. Her muscles went slack beneath the crushing weight of fear. The chains around her ankles rattled softly. A red-hot knife plunged through her and twisted, and the light burning in the center of her vision began to sway up and down, up and down, up and down. It's not real, Korra whispered. She shook her head stiffly and felt a sharp, stabbing sensation below her shoulders with every breath. It's not real. It's not real. Oh, honey. Mom moved to hug her, but Korra flinched away, crying out as the sudden motion shot more pain up her spine. It was just a bad dream, she shouted, pleaded. It's not real. Dad glanced at Mom, concern plainly written on his face. Senna, maybe we shouldn't. Korra, listen to me, her mother said firmly. You're safe here. I know this must feel so scary, like talking about it is dangerous somehow, but... She took a deep breath, something like anger flashing in the deep blue of her eyes. I promise you, we will never let that man touch you again. Dad sat up straight, nodding. She's right. Zahir is locked away forever, and if he ever gets out, I'll kill him myself. It wasn't Zahir! The words slipped out without Korra's leave. She gasped, throwing her hands over her mouth, as her parents exchanged glances before turning back to her. If no one else knew, and she didn't talk about it, then it didn't happen. But her parents knew, and she had just talked about it. So it did happen. It happened, came an unfriendly hiss from the back of her mind, and there's no way to make it unhappen. Her next breath struck her like a boulder to the gut. What little remained of Korra's composure collapsed in on itself. Heavy sobs tore themselves from her chest, and she hugged herself tightly, as if doing so would somehow make her stop hurting. The veil protecting her was violently torn open, leaving her raw and exposed. There was nowhere left to hide. Korra, sweetie. Mom raised a hand, then lowered it, because Korra was disgusting and polluted, and touching her might make Mom disgusting too. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry you had to live through something so awful, sweetheart. Dad looked at her so sadly, with such pity and regret, like she was some sick, injured animal that needed to be put down. You're still the amazing, brave, big-hearted girl we raised, he insisted. This doesn't change how we see you, Korra, I promise. But it does, Korra knew. They didn't see her as her anymore. How could they? The real Korra was gone. When her parents looked at her, all they saw was the girl on the floor of that cave, a freshly mutilated pile of scraps, with her heart ripped out and her soul forever disfigured. Please go. Her own voice was quiet and cold. Baby, please, you don't have to face this alone. Go! Korra shouted. Just go. Please? Her parents looked at each other. Do you want us to send Asami back in? Dad asked. An icy thought wormed its way into Korra's head. Does she know? Mom shook her head, wiping away tears. No, no one else does, not from us. Asami didn't know, but Mom and Dad knew, and Korra had talked about it, so it was real now. She couldn't contain it anymore. Soon Asami will know too. She'll never look at me the same way again. No, thank you. Korra heard herself say in a tone as dull as clouded glass. A gray haze crashed over her like churning waves beneath an icy cliff, dragging her crumpled body out to sea. I want to take a nap, please. In the moments that followed, Dad moved to the door, and Mom gave her a light kiss on the forehead before hugging her and kissing her forehead again. Both of them said some things, but Korra never heard them. She wasn't listening, wasn't seeing, wasn't there at all. "Let go," whispered a voice inside. It was an old idea, an echo of the wind. It didn't feel like her own. She clutched at it all the same. Bad things couldn't happen if she was gone. Let go. She would finally be safe. She would finally be able to rest. Let go. Someone new would take her place. Someone better. It would be like she had never existed at all. Let go. Let go. Let go. Mom and Dad shut the door as they left. In their absence, silence lingered. It crept across Korra's skin, seeped into her veins, rotted her away from the inside out. She released a short, shallow breath. Her eyes lidded, then closed. Somewhere far away, chains murmured softly against a floor of hard-packed earth, and Korra let herself slip beneath the surface of the water.